And we are live on another 5:30 Rooted in Sports Monday. I got my guys. Well, first I got my Isaiah Kitt. You know, you guys are familiar with him. You guys see him all the time. All
Yeah.
right. From the Isaiah Kitt show. But then I was like, you know what? I feel like, for this episode, let's just bring in another element, a different feel. So I got
Uh,
my guy Ronald from the M&R show.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
Right. How you guys doing today? Talk to us.
I'm doing good. I know we got some really interesting topics to get into today, so
All right.
I'm excited. We got conference finals coming up, NFL, so we get a little bit of everything. I'm really hyped for this live broadcast. I'm really hyped. I'm really hyped.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Maybe throw a little Cowboys in there. I always got to throw
Oh
a little
yeah.
You gonna get a
maybe
little, look.
some other stuff in there, some Luca talk. So I'm ready to go.
Ready to go. Good to go. So obviously, guys, we're gonna talk some NBA playoffs. We're gonna talk a little bit of NFL, right? Because they just had the NFL schedule release. But after that, we'll jump into the meat and potatoes. Talk NBA playoffs because now we got the conference finals coming up, and it's exactly how I predicted. But you know me, I don't know anything about basketball. That's another story for another day. But let's get into this trusty intro and let's get into the action. So a fun fact: Zaytoven made that beat for me.
Really?
No, he did.
Oh,
No. Good friend of mine named Ben Mans, doing big things out in Houston, man. So check him out.
That's what's up.
Right. But yeah, I guess we are here. All right. And we can jump into the NFL. They just released a schedule for 2022.
Yep.
A lot of interesting matchups. I know I had my eye on, but it was something we was longly awaited for. Some teams got some really tough schedules, and some teams have some easy schedules. If you guys were to tell me about some matchups, some games, some matchups that you're excited about in the upcoming season.
You want to start thing?
I can start. So I think it was really interesting. I think the Rams they have a couple of really good in-depth games, but I'm really looking at Rams Chiefs. Well, I'm gonna do it in like order, kinda.
Mhm.
Rams Bills Thursday night opener of the season.
Mhm.
That is huge because typically the Super Bowl champion, they typically give like the NFL give them a game that they are favorites in and should win. Like I'm not gonna say handily, but usually the champion usually wins those games.
Mhm.
But this game right here, this could potentially be a Super Bowl matchup, and we're getting that the Thursday night opener. You usually don't see that. It's usually like an interconference battle. Between I felt like last year between the Cowboys and Tampa, that game was closer than what I thought.
Yeah, it was a great game. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the Rams and Bills. I mean, obviously we know what the Rams are: defending Super Bowl champions, Matthew Stafford, the great playoff run, Sean McVay, offensive genius. I think they're phenomenal. But then you look at Buffalo. Buffalo, many people thought Buffalo was probably the best team in the AFC last year. Obviously they had the heartbreaking defeat versus Kansas City,
Mhm.
but I think Buffalo, they have as good as a shot as anybody to win the AFC coming into this year. And you look at some of the acquisitions that they've made, obviously the big time signing of Von Miller. I think that's a really, really interesting matchup where we have two heavyweights from both conferences coming together in the first game of the season. Absolutely phenomenal schedule making and designing.
And both are essentially the odds favorites to win their conferences.
Yeah, essentially, literally in this
Right.
week
Yeah.
one.
So they said.
And
So
this,
they said. No, they said
this,
we want to be sexy. We want to have a sexy Thursday night opener.
absolutely. I honestly, I can just outline every AFC West divisional matchup.
Yeah, literally.
I mean, it's hard. Like I was like earlier, I was going through the schedule, and I'm like, oh, Chargers, Broncos, and then I was thought to myself, I'm like, oh, that's a divisional matchup. Like that's a given. Of course they're gonna play each other. So like you can really just look at that and be like, well, yeah, these games right here. But another Rams game that I really like, that I find interesting, I think Kansas City or the Rams going to Kansas City. I think that's another interesting matchup where Kansas City, obviously, we know how dominant they have been within the conference, within the AFC, and I don't think they're going to be going anywhere with Mahomes and Andy Reid. Now, obviously, they lost Tyreek Hill, but I expect Kansas City to be pretty good. And the Rams, once again, like I said, the Rams, I think we can all agree, are probably prohibited favorites in the NFC as we sit right here today.
Yeah, definitely. Literally going back just with the Bills again too.
Yeah,
got Kansas City Bills week 6. We got to circle that one. I mean, that was one of the best playoff games we've ever seen in like my lifetime.
Yeah,
great game's gonna be fireworks again in Kansas City. Buffalo ain't coming to play with them boys. They got Von Miller this year. They're not coming to play with them boys.
Guys, is it just me, or has Arrowhead kind of lost its luster in recent years? Like it's not the
Seattle.
Yeah, right. It's not the same. Yeah, it's not the same tough stadium to play in anymore. So teams because right.
I don't think the Bills are scared to go in there. I really don't. No, I'm really excited to see that game. Like Josh, Mahomes, but in Kansas City, no Tyreek Hill. We saw Tyreek Hill scored in, what was it, 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Like, they don't have that guy anymore. Juju.
That's a big difference for them.
Like MVS, like these are kind of one-trick ponies. And MVS is the ex-fly guy. Mm-hmm. Juju's a slot guy. Like I'm excited about Sky Moore. This is year 1, small school. We got to temper expectations. I get it. But the Bills they're coming to send a message. Von Miller is a Super Bowl champion. He's twice Super Bowl MVP. He's not coming to play. Gabe Davis, we saw what he's doing. I'm looking for him to have a breakout year.
Absolutely.
Stephon Diggs has got paid again. Me and Zay, DC guys. This is a DC legend.
Yeah.
He's not coming to play on the field. Like, we know what he's going to do. But then, again, another Kansas City matchup. You got Kansas City, Tampa Bay, week 4. Kansas City has a heck of a schedule. Let's just put it out there. I mean, go ahead.
No, I was about to say they're I think they're really trying to create a lot more parity at the top of the AFC because look, part of me feels like the NFL really wanted Buffalo to win, and Kansas City just threw a monkey wrench in that. They're like, okay, this was supposed to be Josh Allen's turn. It's supposed to be his rise to the throne, right? So obviously they set it a year back. So no, they do have an extremely tough schedule. And you mentioned something earlier, Ronald. Mm-hmm. The addition of Von Miller. You know, we look at what we heard Aaron Donald talk about, like how much Von Miller helped guide them through that postseason and become champions and taught him a lot of stuff from a leadership standpoint. So he's going to come to Buffalo, which I think is really, honestly, not far from where the Rams were before they got Von Miller. They might be a little bit ahead because they have a lot of key impact defenders and things of that nature. But I think he'll go there and have a similar impact. Buffalo, to me, right now, is if I was to pick a team to be the Super Bowl favorite to win it all, I would pick Buffalo because Josh Allen
did not play in the AFC Championship game. I want everyone to know he was a top 5 corner to me coming. He didn't have his best season before he got hurt. But going into 2021, I am as a top 5 corner in the NFL. He did not play in this game.
And did you see that? Did you see they said, you know what? We're gonna lighten Tre'Davious White's load. We're gonna draft this corner from Florida, Kyer Elam, right? You know, I don't know what it is about Florida. Florida quarter's gonna come in ready to play. They got great technique. I don't know what it is. I don't know what they're doing in Florida, but he's gonna be really good and pay immediate dividends for him.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I'm just really excited for that game. I mean, you know, we got a little Cowboys there, Cowboys, Rams, Cowboys, Tampa Bay. Yes. I need to see something.
I'll give you guys a matchup before we get into the Cowboys. I know it's gonna get interesting, right? Buccaneers Saints week 13.
Ooh,
and I say that because as much as, you know, we feel like Tampa Bay has a chance to win the entire NFC, I think they could have beat the Rams very, very much so last year without Chris Godwin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. Like, it's almost like, okay, it's kind of like we always have that one person in life that just has our number. You know, I remember I lived in Japan. This is a short, quick segue. And I got real good at beer pong. I went through a year where I drank a lot, right? 2013. And so I played beer pong every night. And I used to go and I used to beat all the white guys. You know, that's their sport. I used to go to their bars. But it was just two guys that I could never beat. Yeah. And we would beat people that beat them, but we could never beat them. And to this day, I have nightmares in my sleep of not beating them in beer pong. And that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when it comes to Saints.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, I think with New Orleans, I think there's some question marks whether or not Dennis Allen is the right coach and right fit. Yeah. But I thought he did a damn good job. Like what he does on defense, especially versus Tampa Bay, it's amazing. And I think like their physicality from their front seven to their linebacking core, all the way with their secondary, and what Marshawn Lattimore can do when he's consistent and at his best and at his peak. It's incredible. So and then they added Honey Badger, so maybe he can have a bounce back year in New Orleans. But that's a really interesting. I like that pick out that game.
Can we talk about their wide receiving core and what's it building up to be? Jarvis Landry.
I tweeted about that. I tweeted that. I literally tweeted this might be the best 3 route runners I've ever seen in maybe NFL history in the same team. Chris Olave was my number 1 route runner. Michael Thomas literally broke the record like for yards before Cooper Kupp did. And then you signed Jarvis Landry, who ran a 4.7 at 21. He still gets open at almost 30. It's not speed; it's feet. Like these
technique.
It's technique.
Skill.
This is I think open.
I've told people this dating back to last year. If Jameis, like when he the year in Tampa Bay where he went 30 for 30 and the 5,000 yards, I'm like, if you cut those interceptions in half. He's fine. You win games with him.
You could.
So, and here's the thing about Jameis. As much as he's like, you listen to some of the things that he says, and you like shake your head. He's hilarious. But the truth is he can play, and he's quietly one of the better deep ball throwers in the entire National Football League. Mm-hmm. So. Now you're simplifying this job. The running back position is solidified. They brought Mark Ingram back to pair with Alvin Kamara again. So they got that combo back. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And now you're giving them a wide receiving core of Chris Olave, bona fide route runner, Jarvis Landry, who at a time, and maybe he can reclaim it if he's healthy, was the best slot receiver in the game for a good 5 years. And Michael Thomas, who I think people disrespect him and they say, he runs a full route tree. Yeah. Slant boy. No, he runs a full route tree. And this is what we're not talking about. This is going to be the best supporting cast that Michael Thomas has ever had. People forget Michael Thomas was doing these things by himself with Traquan Smith as his number 2.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Who's game plan for Traquan Smith? No offense.
Not a lot of defense coordinators.
No, we're trying to let this guy go. So
and the O-line's still good. I mean, they lost left tackle, but they drafted Trevor Penning.
I like him.
Love Trevor Penning, but I mean, he was a top 4 tackle. This is a deep tackle draft.
Right.
It was.
Athletic traits are there. I trust the Saints. New Orleans, even though Sean Payton, I guess, is not there, I think the culture is still there. Dennis Allen, it seems like they just say, let's just keep it going. Mm-hmm. I think this was hurt his ACL, but I mean, we all see the workouts on Instagram. He looks fine to me. I mean, I think he's ready for week 1. He's going hard every day on Instagram. I really think. I think he'll be fine. I'm actually excited to see what New Orleans can do. To be honest.
And did you guys hear the Odell Beckham rumors?
I have.
He's considering go. I believe it. It's possible.
Yeah, I mean he's a New Orleans guy. Obviously Jarvis is down there. So like, and Odell, you look at a guy like Odell. He got his Super Bowl championship. He resurrected himself.
He's made his money.
He's resurrected himself, made his money. I feel like to go down to New Orleans is not a stretch. And New Orleans, I think they, obviously we're talking about Jameis, we're talking about Dennis Allen, first year head coach, and there's a change in the coaching staff. But as Teron's point, the culture, I still feel like it's there, and the NFC is wide open. So they can definitely be a playoff team. And make some noise with that defense in there and the style that New Orleans just has. I was going to say, speaking of the NFC, it's not a particular game, but it's a particular team that I really like, and it's the 49ers. And I think they have a lot of elements that I really like, but I look at their schedule, and this is why I think with like with this NFL scheduling, this is why I find it so important. Because just looking at the 49ers rosters in terms of front office, head coach, roster, star players, they check the boxes as like, okay, this team's gonna be a playoff team. They were one win away from the Super Bowl. But you look at their schedule. I think they play a total of 8 Pro Bowl quarterbacks. 8 Pro Bowl quarterbacks. Why am I mentioning that? I'm mentioning that because they're potentially starting essentially a rookie. Like they're essentially gonna probably start a rookie in Trey Lance. And hopefully this 49er team can overcome some of the murderous row of quarterbacks they have to play. And that secondary is still kind of the issue. Hopefully they can overcome that. But the 49ers is definitely a team where they can easily go from an NFC favorite and darling to probably a letdown this year.
Well, I'll say this, and a lot of people, I don't know, people may doubt me on this, but Jimmy Garoppolo's still there.
Huh?
They're not going to just hand. They're not going to just hand Trey the job. They're not going to just hand Trey Lance the job.
You got to go out and win it.
And even though we know he's eons more talented and his ceiling is higher than Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, hell, if we talk about ceiling and potential, Jamarcus Russell had more potential than Tom Brady, and where's he at? Right? But I say all that to say, they've won a lot of games with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Absolutely,
he doesn't lose. So overall, he just doesn't lose games. I mean, he loses like playoff games, but like overall, he doesn't lose.
Yeah, so I don't be surprised. I'm not saying it's guaranteed to happen, but don't be surprised if it's some growing pains and Jimmy Garoppolo winds up either starting week 1 or eventually coming in and taking over if things and getting a job back temporarily. Because to tell you the truth, there's nothing wrong with sitting a quarterback for 2 years or a year and a half, 2 years. We've seen it work out in the past, and Trey Lance is talented. Why break his confidence or whatever?
Mm-hmm. And then we have yet to hear anything about Deebo Samuel and that whole debacle that was supposed to be going on. Now he's quiet. He's followed the 49ers back. He still has no contract.
Well, I think I'm pretty confident that they're behind the scenes really working to fix it. I think they were open to trading him, but from my understanding, John Lynch was like, if you guys are going to get him, you're going to have to come correct. And I'm assuming it was a big ask. They probably wanted a top 10 pick. Probably one of the top 10 pick and a player, which I personally don't think Deebo Samuel's worth. I think he's a great player, but I don't think he's worth all of that. So teams probably scoffed at it, and now they're just back to the drawing board. Well, I guess it's kind of like you're like, oh, well, I guess we're here. We're gonna resign you. So they're just gonna figure it out because he's better for their football team. And I think that even though he may feel like he's gonna go somewhere else, come on, dude. Kyle Shanahan has literally manufactured so many plays for you to flourish, put you in great positions. You're not going to get that with the damn New York Jets or right or the Timbuktu Argonaut. I like to say Timbuktu, right? Just a random team. So San Francisco's a good pick. But I guess we got to talk about another game. And I promise to you, I'm going to this game. I don't care if it's in Lambeau, in the cold. I'll be there. Dallas, Green Bay, Week 10, November. What do you guys think?
I was going to say, I know Aaron Rodgers is kind of our kryptonite, the Cowboys' kryptonite. And, like he struggles to be, when it comes to winning in playoff games, he struggles to beat everybody else. But the Cowboys, he finds a way to beat us in the playoffs. But I'll say this, the last time our Cowboys went up to Lambeau, we won. We won pretty convincingly. Now, it was a regular season game. That was years ago.
2016. I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that game. That was back in
David Irvin had 3 fumbles that game. 3 forced fumbles.
Yeah. And we looked really good. And that was throughout our 11 game win streak and so forth. So that game should be really interesting. Green Bay, I think they have a pretty interesting schedule as well. They got their schedule in terms of like rating wise, it's not hard, but they got some sneaky games in there where Green Bay lack a lot of weaponry. And I think we're going to see a Packer team this year where they're not going to win a lot of shootouts. They're not going to be able to win shootouts because they just don't have the offensive, the necessary offensive weapons like they had last year, or they don't have that guy. Devontae Adams. They don't have a number one guy. It's a bunch of threes and unproven commodities.
Yeah,
I mean,
Christian Watson's a rookie.
Yeah, Christian Watson. I think he's going to be okay. We don't know if he's going to develop in.
I think he's very unrefined. He's talented, but he's so unrefined.
Yeah. So, and I don't know how Aaron's going to like that. Like, we all know Aaron don't. He won't throw you the ball. So
they might give him 3 routes. Hey, you're gonna run a post, a goal, and a comeback or a slant. Like that's gonna be your route tree.
Yeah. So that game should be pretty interesting. I think that's a winnable game for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I definitely think it's winnable. This season, I've been telling myself this since we lost in the playoffs. I don't care who we beat. We have to beat the good teams. I don't care how if we win 13 games. If we lose against the Bengals and the Bucks, I'm just like, okay, I don't believe in this team. I'm only going to go off of those games. Because it would be the bad teams too. So this is one of those games we have to win for me again to get behind the team. And Green Bay isn't. I mean, okay, we know what they're going to be. They're going to be like a Baltimore-esque team without the running quarterback. They're going to run the ball a lot. They have Aaron Jones. They have Dylan.
Thank you.
Line. The defense is going to be really good.
Yeah.
Like really good. Eric Stokes was way better than I thought he was going to be in the NFL last year. Jair barely played. Clearly he's healthy. He's got $84 million today. So I think he'll be fine. They got Devondre Campbell back. He was all pro. They drafted Quay Walker, who they thought was better than the Kobe Dean. Yep. Drafted in the first round. Georgia boy. Big boy.
Talented.
The defense is going to be good. Like Devontae Wyatt, Georgia boy. They already have Kenny Clark. It's some guy. They lost Darius Smith, but he was hurt. They still have Preston Smith.
Right. Like, Rashawn, let's not forget about the beast, Rashawn Gary, who's finally coming into his own.
From Michigan, 20% pass rush win rate. Like he was killing. He's been really good. So the defense is going to be really good. The offense is going to be run first. And Christian Watson did run like low 4 threes. He's going to be deep shot. It's funny because I saw Chris Sims comp him before the draft to MVS, who he just lost. So that's hilarious. That's probably what they thought too. They said, we in the second round, we replace MVS with this guy. I just don't know who's the who do you think is Green Bay's top 3 receivers right now?
Cobb, Watkins, and Lazar, maybe?
Well, okay, and I'm going to tell you guys this.
Yeah.
Cobb's going to be your slot guy, and I think if he's healthy, he could give you a little bit of production. 500 to 700 yards max. 5 to 6 touchdowns. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
They still got, what's his name, Tonyan at tight end.
Yeah.
Right?
Off the agree. Mm-hmm.
Right. But I actually like Lazard more than other people do. He's not a burner. He's not a fast guy. But he can play everywhere. He can play the slot, the X, the Y, right? Because they had him. He was a big slot for them. And he's such a big guy that I think that if Aaron, and there are plenty of games I watch with the Packers, and I'm like, man, if Aaron Rodgers would just get the guy the ball, push the ball to this guy a little bit more, he's such a big kid. He's going to win a lot of those matchups with contested ball. So I think Lazard may become their bridge number 1, right? Maybe until somebody kind of shows himself, or maybe they draft a guy next year. Christian Watson, I think they have to simplify his workload. Don't overthink it. It's funny. Somebody said MVS as a comp. I'm looking at his skill set, or looking at his body type and his athleticism. I'm going to be honest. I made a very outrageous comp. Maybe not. But I think with his body type and his athleticism, I think he's a lot more athletic than MVS is. Because I've seen him do things on jet sweeps. He kind of gives me like Randy Moss vibes with his athleticism.
Okay. Was he 6'5"?
He's 6'5".
He's huge. I mean,
yeah.
So he's so raw though. He's really a piece of clay that could be an all-pro receiver. Like his clay mold is all-pro. I don't know if he'll get there, but like he has the potential. Like he's even side to side. His 3-cone wasn't. I mean, his 3-cone wasn't bad. Like he's a stiff guy. So
I think it just hurts that he doesn't. I think I would feel better about his prospects if maybe a Devontae was still there, because then you could. But because you look at Devontae had those years where it was Randall Cobb and Jordy Nelson, and he was the number 3 or 4 guy, right? So unfortunately, Christian Watson may not get that type of time to mature. They're gonna have to really throw him out in the fire. So, and you mentioned something earlier, Ronald, that I liked, and I've been trying to tell people this. The Packers have 2 damn good running backs and Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. And AJ Dillon last year, I'll be honest, I started to see the vision, which with the purpose of drafting him. They wanted to get tougher. And I think that they're accomplishing that. But next year, don't be surprised if you see them run a lot of their offense through Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, and let Aaron Rodgers operate off of play action, which I think would be dangerous. And maybe Christian Watson stretch the field, right? You can get it to Randall Cobb in the intermediate, and let Allen Lazard be a big possession receiver for you. So no, I like them. Now about these Cowboys, I'll say this: this is going to be the best damn defense that we've ever traveled to Green Bay with in quite a while. So
yes.
And Aaron Rodgers hasn't been properly introduced to Micah Parsons yet.
Hasn't.
No, he
has not. I can't wait to see Micah Diggs. I think Diggs has some stuff to work on that he knows, which is good.
Yeah.
He's healthy. There's a whole offseason. He knows what people were saying about him. I love people trash talking him, because that's just
I love
the fire.
Yeah,
just keep the fire.
Fiery guy.
This is a kid that's only been a corner for like 3 years.
3 years. Because he came into Alabama as a receiver.
Yeah, he did.
Which says a lot, because this is Bama receiver you.
Right.
And that's what it's turned into. Like Alabama and Ohio State, they're just pooping out receivers now.
Quality guys too. Now Alabama ones, these guys got to stay out of trouble, but
mental is still Alabama.
Yeah. But no, like I think he's 100% correct. But Trevon Diggs, I think, will get better. It's funny, you look at the Cowboys draft. Tyler Smith obviously was #1 overall pick. He'll slide in and be left guard day one. But he's not the guy that everybody's talking about. Everybody's talking about the D. Williams from Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And he's the guy that everyone's excited about. I know Dan Quinn worked him out before the draft. He's in love with him. He got his guy.
He looks like Vic Beasley. Like he's Vic Beasley if he was 250 pounds.
Yeah.
Like
great comp.
4'1", he's like 245.
Yeah.
Like even he's probably the fastest in the draft. Now, doesn't mean he's the best, but he's the fastest the end. Him and Nick Bitonio from Oklahoma.
And it's funny enough, they actually put a stat by stat comparison with D. Williams and Aiden Hutchinson, and I'll be damned. It actually wasn't. The only thing about D. Williams is he's just not a complete edge. He can't stop the run to save his life. Yeah. That's one thing. I watched his run stop and tape. I'm like, for him to be, because he's like a 255, 260 pound kid. He's not a small guy, but he wants no parts of stopping the run. So he's gonna
score. DeMarcus Lawrence is the best run defending defensive end to me.
I was telling somebody that the other day.
Yes,
him and Cam Jordan, or Cam Jordan, Cam Hayward, D-Law. Those are my three, like D ends that A+.
And I'll get as much as I'm critical of him. Isaiah knows this. I'll give Jadeveon Clowney his flowers. He could drop anchors, stop that damn run too.
He can stop that run.
Yeah, that's one thing he can't do.
Yeah, he ain't gonna get you double-digit sacks,
right? But ever.
He can stop that run.
Some pressures and some run stops.
Yeah,
right. So yeah, that's gonna be an exciting matchup. Okay, so I got one more matchup. You guys can tell me what you guys think. I feel this in my soul. Okay. But week 11.
I think you went out.
Yep.
Can you guys hear me?
Okay.
Yeah, I think you broke out when you said week 11.
Oh, okay. I don't know what happened. Week 11.
Gotcha.
All right. That could potentially be those could potentially be the top two teams in the AFC.
Which teams?
But you're lagging again.
You're lagging again, yeah. Like, let me go to week 11. Let me see what.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. What two teams are you referring to in week 11?
The Raiders and the Broncos.
Oh,
that's high take material right there.
Now,
I mean, yeah.
I was telling somebody this earlier about the Broncos. I think I said it last week before the schedule release, and I said, you know what, Denver, despite the new acquisitions with new head coach Nathaniel Hackett, obviously Russell Wilson and so forth, and then defense. Look at the defensive pieces that they have. I told myself, I said, people think Denver's probably going to struggle early. I don't think so. You think about Denver, even when they have mediocre quarterback play, Denver is always good in September
because
you don't see teams going up the Mile High and beating them because it's so difficult. So even with I think like last year they started off like 5-1 with Teddy Bridgewater.
Beat the Cowboys to the ground.
Yeah, like they. So I think Denver. We talked about Buffalo and how we thought Buffalo is probably like the odds-on favorites in the AFC. But I think the Denver Broncos is probably going to be a team that wins 12, 13 games, maybe, because I think they're going to get off to such a hot start in the first month or two of the NFL season. And I think as the season goes on, I think they'll only get better. So it's really interesting, Kenneth, that you pointed out that matchup between Denver and the Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, well, if we follow as Malcolm Rancho, that is a Javonte Williams stand page. I mean, I post and during the season we have a TikTok of Javonte. The Broncos' offensive line is not good, but since UNC he had the most yards after carry in his first year of any rookie running back. Didn't even start all the games. When he was in North Carolina, most yards after contact in North Carolina. Like he's been good ever since. So this is going to be a running back that's actually going to be able to play games. Unlike Chris Carson.
Yeah.
Could never play 16 games. Well, now it's 17, but definitely couldn't even play 16.
Right.
So that's going to be interesting. Jerry Jeudy's jail situation.
Yeah.
He's out, but is he going to get suspended? These are questions you have to ask Courtland Sutton.
Yeah.
I know what Courtland's doing. I think he's a 1. He looks good. I think we think he's 1.2K.
I think, yeah.
He has it in him. It's just the defense is good. I don't know if they're great enough to beat the Chargers, and that's what scares me about Denver.
You think so?
The Chargers got Sebastian with Joseph Day from the Rams, who they stole. That's the only problem they had. They got him. Now they got Mac. I love Asante Samuel Jr. They got J.C. Jackson. Like I think the Chargers just have more. Now, really, maybe that the Broncos can maybe get KC. But it's like, am I trusting Nathaniel Hackett over Andy Reid? Like, I'm not. I'm drinking water, not.
So okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, we was having some technical difficulties with the route. I don't know what's going on.
We were going though.
Yeah, we're good.
Perfect. Okay. Perfect. As long as you guys are still going. But I say all this to say, looking at what the Raiders have done. I mean, obviously, maybe you're talking about Nathaniel Hackett, but
yeah.
I'm starting to build a little bit more confidence in Josh McDaniels and kind of seeing what he has to work with on that roster. Zay knows I'm a big Derek Carr fan. So I feel like Derek Carr is going to handle business, and he has the best weapons he had in his entire career.
Yeah.
For the Broncos, can we be honest? Does Nathaniel Hackett really have to be special to win 10 or 11 games with that team?
No. I mean, they have the coach in the division, though. To me,
well, he's the most unknown commodity in that division.
Yeah, I guess he could be good, but
right. So
I got to see. Yeah,
so Denver has the best defense in that division, bar none.
I think so.
They had the number 3 defense last year, and they've only got
the separation for me.
That's the big.
Yeah, because I think the Chargers have a chance, man. That defense.
I think, but I mean, the Chargers weren't great last year. Don't get me wrong, they added some pieces.
Is Joey going to play? Is Derwin James going to play? Is JC going to play? These are all people that get hurt. Yeah. So it's just like, yeah.
I think Denver just has a lot more of a solid foundation. And all you're doing is you're adding Russ to a team that had a really damn good defense and didn't really lose many pieces because they didn't give up much. Whoever that general manager over there is in Denver, man, like he needs to give, like that app where they give like master classes on different things. He needs to give a master class on general managing.
Not John Elway.
It's Def Street. Yeah, you see, they got that to get him out of here. After the Paxton Lynch debacle, they said you got to go, buddy.
Out there.
But honestly, you bring up Denver's foundation. It's very similar to what happened with Tom in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay won 7 games that the year before Tom joined.
But they
won 7 games. But you think about it, that was the 30 for 30 year with Jameis Winston. So a lot of those turnovers led to losses. And you bring in a guy like Tom cut those turnovers in half, and they became Super Bowl champions. So, and I'm not saying the Broncos are going to be like Super Bowl champions.
I think they can be.
They can be, but I think you look at a Bronco team, like I said, they started off really well with under Teddy Bridgewater. They usually start off really well in September because that's just what the Broncos do, even with mediocre quarterback play. So I'm looking at they have done. Can we talk about the secondary that they have back there?
Goodness gracious!
I don't know if it's no fly zone 2015, but it's damn good. So I just look at what they have defensively. It's very similar to what Tampa Bay had. It's very similar to what Peyton Manning had joining the Broncos. It's so many. I think there's so many direct parallels to Russell Wilson being added to this Broncos roster, and them. I think they were a 7-win team last year, an 8-win team.
They won 7. They won 7 games, which I thought, which in my opinion wasn't terrible because they were
hurt. Teddy was hurt.
Yeah. And Ron, I think you make I love the Chargers. People know.
My
listeners know I love me some Justin Herbert. I will probably still argue Justin Herbert over Joe Burrow, but that's just me. People, I just argue that. But the Chargers, I don't know. With me, they have this they have this unluck. Like they don't have that luck is just not on the Chargers' side sometimes. But I did think they were the best team that did not make the playoffs last year. The Chargers were the best team in the playoffs. They were the best team in the league last year that did not make the playoffs.
I think the Colts were.
Indy, cool.
Yeah, I think the Chargers just added so many pieces, but I guess Denver added the main piece that you need to add to be a good team, which is the X factor as the quarterback. I just it's the offensive line for Denver though. What is the offensive line that if that can be a top 13 unit, then they have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. If it isn't, I guess we did see the Bengals go last year. But we can't use that as the standard. Yeah.
Ronald, think about this. They can't be any worse than what Russ had in Seattle.
Yeah, I've been thinking that too, but I ain't gonna lie. They had Dwayne Brown, and they got who's the left tackle on the. I can't even tell you.
I can't name.
I don't know one.
Garrett Bowles for the Broncos is Garrett Bowles.
Yeah, Garrett Bowles.
Like, he's actually pretty good. Okay. Garrett Bowles has become one of the more consistent left tackles. I think he's a guy that's not too far from being a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, because they had Dwayne Brown in Seattle, and now he has Garrett. It's like the other guys are okay, but it's like they have Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. Like these aren't okay. These are X factors on Madden. Like these aren't just okay guys. They have the bull rush emoji on Madden. Like that scares me. And I used to be, big Russell Wilson fan, but the line, it's like he can't get that right. I don't understand it. They had so many chances to get the offensive line right this summer, and they chose not to. I don't know why. It's not money. It's not the cap room. It's not it was the draft. It was so many linemen. And Darian Carr was a 3rd-round pick for a team. Like there was so many ways they could have addressed the offensive line, especially the interior. I don't know why they didn't, and that's the only thing that scares me about this team. Because the secondary, Patrick Surtain II is dang near almost an All-Pro caliber corner already going into year 2. And Jesse, Simmons is is the second best, at least single high safety in the NFL.
Absolutely,
so very underrated, by the way.
Yeah, so we know what defense can do. It's really the offensive line because they can run the ball. They have the receivers. KJ Hamler didn't even play last year. Tim Patrick came out the cut. They're 4 deep at receiver. Somebody goes down, they're still good. So it's like they're 4 deep. It's just the O line. Can the O line just hold up and be decent?
And here's the thing: we're talking about offensive line. The cool thing is Russ is in a situation where they have a really good running back tandem in Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon.
Ron mentioned that, yeah.
And I think that that's gonna take a lot of pressure off of him, from getting sacked and from a pass rush standpoint. And they weren't just good; they ran the ball at an elite level effective. And Javonte Williams I'm watching this kid. I'm like, man, this kid's looking like he's looking like beast mode, the next beast mode. Like he's a phenomenal second effort runner.
Let me tell you his comp is Doug Martin, old Tampa Bay Buccaneers running back.
Doug Martin, from
1,600 yards back. That's exactly what he is. Doug Martin in his prime.
I forgot all about Doug Martin. It's funny how players come and go in the league.
I mean, Todd Gurley, dang near MVP caliber player,
mid-season,
gone. Like so.
Mid,
Yeah. So
mid-season
Denver.
drop off. Yeah. So that's my two my two top teams in the AFC West. I think Kansas City's going to take a slight step back because I think they lost a little bit on defense, and I think they lost a big piece in Tyreek Hill on offense. And I think this is going to be where we see Patrick Mahomes put his big boy pants on because now he's not going to have that. I mean, let's be honest. Tyreek Hill is otherworldly, so and he lost that. So you're not going to have him to bail you out and stretch. Maybe they feel like Miko Hartman can take some of those plays and get some of those matchups, but I'm just not as confident. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to go with the teams who I feel like have stronger foundations and bigger players. Devontae Adams is the best receiver in that conference, right?
In the league,
in that division, in the league, right?
Yeah.
And now he plays for the Raiders, and you add that to Darren Waller and a rising Hunter Renfrow, who came out of nowhere to be 1,000-yard receiver. So, it's scary hours right there in the AFC West. But that is, I mean, like I said, that's my thoughts on the NFL schedule. I think we got a lot of exciting matchups coming. Obviously, we're getting on a rookie mini camp, and pretty soon we'll be in the training camp. God, I can't wait because to me, I just salivate waiting for the NFL season. But out of respect for the NBA, we got to give them their due diligence, right? Look, there go Isaiah rubbing the hands together. All right. So we have to talk about the semifinals. All right. I guess we can go ahead and start with the Celtics Bucks. And it's funny because Zay knows this. We have our group chat. We have our group chat on Instagram. We have a guy named Kevin who was so adamant about the Bucks finishing off the Celtics in 5, and then it went to 6, and then it went. Oh yeah, he was disrespectful with it. And he was in Whip Pro for about 24 hours, and he sends a little message. He sends a little message in the chat saying, "Hats off to Boston. Hats off to Boston. Or hats off to the Celtics." And everybody and nobody let him live it down. They're like, "Oh, wait, we didn't hear you." He just tried to drop the little But let's talk about this Bucks Celtics series. Tell me, God, what are your thoughts on this?
I can start. Boston. So I picked Boston in 7 game week. And I thought coming into this series, even before this series started, I was like, hey, this is the door opening for the Celtics. Miami, I think, is a little fool's gold. Philadelphia, it's Philadelphia. And Milwaukee, we have a Milwaukee team where I really like Milwaukee, but they're missing Chris Middleton. And the absence of Chris Middleton, it was fairly apparent, especially down the stretch or certain games where, Drew Holiday turned into this 20-shot guy. Drew Holiday, fine two-way player. What he does on defense is excellent, and what he can give you on offense is pretty damn good. But for him to be taking 20-plus shots consecutively in multiple games, you don't want that from him. And that's where the absence of Chris Middleton came from. I thought Milwaukee in this series, they lack some athleticism on the wing. Grayson Allen wet the bed the last 2 games. 1 for 7 in game 6. 0 for 6 in game 7, a complete no-show. So when I look at this Milwaukee team, I'm not gonna say I'm surprised that they lost in game 7, but I thought the game 7 would be a little bit closer than what it was. And let's just call it what it is. Giannis had a terrific showing, but in terms of efficiency, it was not good. It was very reminiscent of the second round exits that they had previous to them winning the championships. It was very reminiscent of that, where the numbers were there. He was in certain games, yes, you could feel his impact and his dominance, but the efficiency just wasn't there at all. And then looking at from a Boston point of view, with Boston, the Celtics, and I know I have a lot of people. I know a lot of people from Boston, friends from Boston, and so forth. There's good defenses, and then there's the Celtics. like I love what they do defensively. They are so damn physical. And they don't have like a 7-foot like Rudy Gobert protecting the rim, But I made this point last night, and the Celtics have good size. Now you're thinking like, okay, they don't have a 7-footer, but they have Al Horford, who's about 6'10". They have Robert Williams, who's about 6'9", and his athleticism makes up for his lack of size. They have Jason Tatum, who's 6'8", 6'9", on the perimeter. They have Jaylen Brown, that's 6'6", 6'7", on the perimeter. And then they have Marcus Smart, who's 6'5", not a small dude, on the perimeter.
So he might be 6. He might even be 6'3", but he has a long wingspan.
Right, long wingspan and a big dude, not a small guy.
Yeah.
So when you look at their unit, their core five, you like they don't have a 7-footer. So how can they be big? Like, no, they have good size. And I think offensively, they get into these dry spells offensively where they get into this isolation play, and it takes away. You really get to see that they're missing that pure point guard. But in terms of what the Celtics can do defensively, I think they're the best defensive team left in the playoffs, and that's what makes them so. That's what makes them so damn dangerous and good. And once again, Al Horford, the ageless wonder, he continues like Ron. No, I've been calling him the ageless wonder because even with him not even having the best, like he didn't have crazy scoring, games.
He's effective though, regardless. Like he just gets that.
He's effective.
He had the 30-point career high.
30-point career high. And Giannis, I hate to be this guy, but Giannis' numbers were good in terms of like point total.
They're phenomenal.
But the efficiency, Al Horford had a lot to do with that and just making the game so difficult for Giannis. So
I get 2015 against Golden State. LeBron took him 6, but he was 39% from the field. Like we all know LeBron, a great series, triple-double. I'm gonna use LeBron. He's behind me right now. He wasn't efficient, just like Giannis was. Giannis literally broke the record: 200 points, 100 rebounds, 50 assists in the same series. Record broken, but it's the efficiency. It took too much effort. He was dead by the second half of the last game. But I think we, as the Boston hater on this podcast, we've done too much Boston praise on here. Let me tell you, everyone on here, what I didn't like and what's scaring me, and this is what the narrative I want people to think about going to the next game. I was telling Zay, I think on the Spaces the other day, Jaylen Brown, this man is chilling. Like this man, he's just getting 20 points, no pressure. Some games he does good, some games he does bad. He does what the heck he wants to do. Sometimes he plays defense, sometimes he doesn't. Jason Tatum, 40-point game 6. Game 7, 20. He had 20-some points. The game before that, 15.
Yeah.
There's no pressure for Boston stars to perform at elite level every game. If Luka Doncic does not score 30 or at least 10 assists, they're losing that game. Like if Devin Booker didn't get 25, they lost that game. If CJ McCollum in the first round couldn't score 25 points, the Pelicans lost that game. There's no pressure on any of the Boston superstars, and that's good for the team because that's how you win a championship. But it's going to be bad probably when we're ranking when people are going to tell me that Jason Tatum's a top 5 player. I'm gonna be like, well, has he sweated one time? Like has he sweated one time? He's had no game 6 was the best game of his career where he had to score and he needed it. But then again, the next game he played good, but he didn't have to play Hall of Fame level. When we saw Luka go to game 7, he had to play at Hall of Fame level, even with Spencer Dinwiddie giving you 30. So it's just levels of I am waiting for the series where I want to see Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have to play at an all NBA level every game. Now, Grant Williams is going to play, Al Horford's going to play, Robert Williams is going to play, all the boys are going to play good as well. But it's the pressure load on Tatum and Brown has been just so minimum throughout their career that I think we're kind of overrating that. Now, that's going to help them win a championship, though, because they're fresh. So, I mean, it's good for, I'm pretty sure Barkley would rather have a championship than all the accolades. So, you give or take. It's going to hurt their individual argument versus other great players, career wise and now. But it could possibly help with team success. So that's my give or take situation that Boston, Tatum, Brown are being put into.
Well, I'll say this. First of all, I think this Boston team has some similarities to the 2015 to the 2015 Golden State Warriors, where they're very deep. They play deep into their bench. Obviously, they're having guys, like Pritchard come in and Grant Williams come in and give them some value and play pretty solid minutes for them. Now, the Celtics just beat probably the team that was the worst matchup for them. And that's because Milwaukee has size.
Right.
I mean, they have three guys that are 6'10". I mean, Brook Lopez is a 7-footer. Giannis is 6'10". Right. Giannis is 6'10". Bobby Portis is 6'10". And they were able to overcome this team that was bigger than them. We could argue just as much, if not more physical than them. And they were able to overcome that. So now you look at who do they really have to play? Who's ahead of them? Okay, we got Miami. I think Miami is probably the toughest challenge left for them because they're a real big defensive team. But one other thing we know about Miami is that they don't score the ball very well, so they keep it. They keep everything low. But I mean, we're gonna ask this: Do you really think that Miami team is going to shut down both Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown?
No.
Right. And it's not like they have a lot of size in the paint. So we could see Al Horford and Grant Williams probably have better games than what they had in Milwaukee. So I agree with what you said about Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown not having any pressure put on them. But I think the argument I would have to push back on that is that if there was a series where pressure was going to be put on them, it was going to be this one, and they just won it. So now you have the Heat, and I'm guessing the next team they probably see. Okay, I'll tell you guys this. We'll jump into it next. But I think the Mavericks have a very good shot of beating Golden State. I really do. I sincerely do, by the bottom of my heart. So, but let's say they see Golden State. Golden State isn't playing defense very well. They don't have a lot of size in the paint down low. So it's kind of something to think about. They overcame. Look, Boston has probably had the toughest road to be where they are right now. They played the Nets, who Milwaukee ducked.
Yeah,
and now they paid the price. Huh? You said what?
That was an L for the Bucks. They shouldn't have did it. They would have won the series. They would have had home court advantage.
They would have had home court advantage, but they paid the price for that. But they ducked the Nets. Boston took the higher seed. They beat beat the Nets, and then they beat them as well. So they beat not only the title favorites, because coming into the season, the Nets were the title favorites. They beat the title, defending champions. So it's just kind of like, I don't know who's really going to put pressure on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to have to rise to that level, because I don't think outside of Miami, I don't think any team is playing defense that well.
Well, I'll tell you this about the Celtics, and Ron he knows me long enough where I have made this my argument with the Celtics. And this comes from the Celtics being one of, if not definitely a top 2 brand in the NBA. The Celtics are about winning. They're about winning championships. So when I see a lot of people going crazy over the Celtics winning this game 7 over the Bucks, I need them to hold their horses, because the Celtics, we need more. The Celtics, if they were an accountant, if the Celtics were an accounting firm, they'd be great. They'd be great, because they hold on. They hold on to everything. They don't take big swings. They're not aggressive. They're not aggressive enough for me. So I think it's really cute that the Tatum, Brown, and Smart trio find themselves back in the Eastern Conference Finals. But I will say this: it needs to be championship or bust for the Celtics this year.
I think
because they can't lose.
And I'm glad Ron pointed it out about Tatum and Brown. And Kenneth, you said, hey, looking at Boston and looking at who they have to play, the toughest road is behind them, and nobody else can play defense the way that Milwaukee can play defense, or the way that themselves can play defense at all. So now this is championship or bust, because in the last 30 years, the Boston Celtics, a rich traditional basketball franchise, won championship. They have one championship to show for it. And you can say what you want about the Lakers. The Lakers right now are in a bad spot. I'll give you that. But one thing about the Lakers, they pivot quickly. They move off of pieces quickly. And in the next couple of years, the Lakers would be back in the mix of things, and they'd be the Lakers. My point is, the Lakers cash in and they pivot very quickly off of you if you don't win championships. And I feel like the Celtics, they have that same aura where they are a rich basketball franchise, traditional power, top 2 brand in the NBA, and I feel like the fans have almost become fine with them being consistent, Eastern Conference appearances. I feel like the fans have become a little bit okay with that. And that should not be the standard if you're the Celtics. You should like one championship in the last 30 years is ridiculous to me. So I think it's championship or bust for the Celtics.
And it's crazy. I think this is probably a hot take. I'm sorry, but
go ahead, take it.
Like 08, they won the chip. That was a tough road to get that chip. You had to go through Bron, then Kobe. Like it was a tough road.
Yeah.
This one now they had to go through now to finish off probably Butler and Luka, but Luka's 23. Like it's maybe an easier road to get the championship this year. I'm in the 08 Celtics day. Now, I mean, you can say now that maybe a harder first round matchup. Yes, but again, they've got through the meat already. So my thing is like if I don't know, they can't lose against the rest of the team. No team has shown enough.
You guys, this Bucks Celtics series was probably one of the best series I've seen in the last 10, 15 years.
Really? I think it's the championship round. Like this is our Chiefs Bills. Well, at least what we thought Chiefs Bills would be. That's the way it felt to me. Like I'm so upset Chris Middleton couldn't play because it would have just been so
much better. It'd changed the dynamic of the entire series.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks.
Or at least for game 7. Like if Middleton's out there, I don't see Boston running away with the game and winning by 20 plus points. I just don't see it happening like that.
Well, because you look at the game plan that they had, they went ahead, they set that wall up. They said, look, we know Giannis is going to be Giannis, but we're going to go ahead and slow him down. If you guys are going to beat us, Drew Holiday's going to have to step up. Connaughton's going to have to step up. Grayson Allen, who played terrible down the stretch.
Good
yeah,
God.
like these are the guys that are going to have to beat us. And I think that obviously Chris Middleton could have been the difference. It could have made up those 15, 20 points in some of the wins and some of the losses that Milwaukee had. So that was Boston's game plan. First of all, shout out to Ime Udoka. He's done he's a hell of a coach, you guys.
Yes.
Black coach.
He was my coach of the year. Right? He was my coach of the year pick.
And fair enough, because they've had probably the greatest turnaround and one of the greatest turnarounds in NBA mid-season turnarounds in NBA history. Yeah. But they bought in, and what I liked is the game-to-game adjustments. He really did ride the ebbs and flows very well, and you felt like it was a chess match. I think, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. I'm so excited to see this Miami Celtics series because you're going to see two great NBA minds in Ime Udoka and Spoelstra. It's going to be a straight-up chess match. It's going to be It's going to be fun to watch.
I agree. One quick thing about the Bucks too, that killed them. The Bucks in the regular season allowed the most 3-pointers made and the most 3-pointers attempted. What killed them yesterday in Game 7? Grant
Celtics
Williams
lit their ass up.
The Celtics made 22 3-point jumpers, 22 3-pointers, and Grant Williams made 7 of those. That was the most in Game 7 history. A team, making 23 3-pointers. So I think that was really big with Milwaukee, and that goes into my point about I think a guy like Wesley Matthews. I think he did a hell of a job in this series, with making threes and making shots. But I think Milwaukee's focus now needs to be adding some more youth and athleticism on the wing. When you look at guys like Pat Connaughton and Grayson Allen, he looked petrified out there. Look at deer. Look at deer in headlights.
Because he playing against he was playing with some grown men on the perimeter.
Yeah, like no pun
big boys.
He looked like a deer in headlights.
And they traded DiVincenzo this season, didn't they, to the Kings?
Yeah.
Didn't have to do it. It wasn't a requirement, and they probably bit that bullet.
So and to even show you how well the Celtics shot, they were 42% from the field, they were 40% from 3, and they were 72% free throws. So these boys was just on, right?
in a game 7,
And,
42-3.
and the crazy part is if you look at the stats, I was going game by game, and you look at the stats, it wasn't like Milwaukee wasn't like they were just playing terrible. The Celtics were just shooting so well, that they just wasn't able to overcome that. And then obviously Giannis got tired. You started to see him wear down that wall. At first he's busting through it. He's running the power I, how they say Giannis likes to run the power I. And he's busting through that wall. But as the game wore on, you really showed like it got to him after a while. He just wasn't the same guy. He didn't have his legs under him. I mean, he was missing shots. He was missing layups. And nobody else. Drew Holiday tried 21 points, but let's be honest. I mean, we're not getting 21 points from Drew Holiday. He's like a 15 to 17 point a game per game type of guy. Exactly. Right. He's a third option. So, I don't know. Like I said, I'm excited for Milwaukee in the future. I like how Giannis took it. He handled it with grace. But Boston just made the right adjustments. It was their night. They shot well. And, hell, they've had a murder row making it to the conference finals. And it's not like Miami's going to lay down for them either. Miami's going to fight them tooth and nail. So that's going to be another challenge for them. And I think if Boston can ultimately make it, I don't feel like there's nobody in the West that can truly challenge. I just don't. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the West it's crazy. Like the Eastern Conference and the West, like they're like East is like the tough conference. West is the finesse conference. It's like every team is like got the same identity in both conferences. We have literally Miami Celtics like the same teams, like identity wise, like both minority coaches, defensive oriented. They run zone sometimes. They have a small, big, is athletic, but is versatile.
Yeah.
You have Jimmy Butler, who's a small forward, but can be a power. Like it's just the same teams. Like of course one's better, but similar built squad. So
yeah, and I think a bigger thing is you look at the West this year. The teams that I think could have been good matchups for a Celtics team lost. Right, they just didn't make the cut. I think obviously everybody's disappointed in. I had Phoenix losing, but Phoenix matches up a little bit better with Boston than a Golden State would maybe or a Mavericks team, right? Because they have the size, but. Yeah, it's going to be definitely interesting to see what transpires. We're going to talk about the Miami and the Celtics in a little bit, but I definitely want to talk about this Suns Mavericks game. What do you guys think about that?
I thought so. Originally, I had picked Phoenix to win this series in 6 games. I thought Luka would be good enough to get them 2 games. But when I saw the series was going to game 7. That's where I picked Dallas to win game 7. And a lot of it comes from in these type of game 7s, you usually go with the best player. And you usually go with the best player because the best player, especially if they are your primary ball handler, can set the pace and the tempo of the game. And that is exactly what Luka Doncic did. He set the pace, the tempo, and the dynamic of the game. He started off red hot. His fellow teammates followed off right behind him. Spencer Dinwiddie came, like it was like literally Luka subbed out. Spencer Dinwiddie picked up.
He was in his bag,
and Spencer Dinwiddie looked like Isaiah Thomas. Like he looked like he was like prime Isaiah Thomas. Like he looked phenomenal. I would say this about the Dallas Mavericks. Obviously, looking at what Luka, and we all know Luka's great. Luka's phenomenal. Elimination game, he's averaging 39, 9, and 10. Just absolutely phenomenal at the age of 23. And this game 7 just puts him on another level. And dare I say, he may be the best remaining player left in the playoffs. But with the Dallas Mavericks, shout out to Jason Kidd, because the one
hell of a job.
The one key difference between this year's Mavericks team and the last 2 years,
they play defense.
They play defense.
They play defense.
The first 2 years, the bubble year where they lost against the Clippers in 6 games, and then obviously last year where they lost against the Clippers again in 6 games, they were always potent offensively. And once again, the head of the snake with Luka, it starts with him. They're going to be potent offensively. They're going to be able to stretch the floor and hit a lot of threes and go up and down with you, but they couldn't get stops. And what they did to Devin Booker, they neutralized Devin Booker. Jason Kidd made it a point of emphasis. Devin Booker is not going to kill us. We're going to let Jay Crowder, we're going to let Chris Paul, we're going to let DeAndre Ayton. If they're going to kill us, DeAndre Ayton is going to be the second coming of Shaq. Devin Booker is not going to take over this series. And I think, honestly, in a series like this, I think Phoenix has a pretty good team. I think at times when you have a guy like Jay Crowder becoming your third option, I think that's a bit problematic. But overall, my consensus and my overall thought of this series is Luka showed you what it is to be a guy. Because Devin Booker, in my mind, I think he's a 2. And Luka showed you the gap between himself and Devin Booker. And that's all it is. And sometimes it takes ass whooping, like last night. It takes a beat down and a great player like Luka to come into your house and beat you in a series. Because I don't do we really think Phoenix and Dallas, do we think Dallas has a better team than Phoenix?
No.
But they have the overall best player, and he showed you the gap.
I think, and I'm glad you said this, because I've been trying to say this I've been saying this since last year.
Mm-hmm.
Devin Booker is a high-end number 2 option, masquerading as a bona fide number 1 and superstar. And it's not because he doesn't have his highs, because he does. But he's so inconsistent in big moments. There should be there's no superstar known to man that's going to have 11 points in a damn elimination game, regardless of whether you're getting doubled. And this is a guy that they were comparing to Kobe Bryant. I know he's rolling in his grave right now.
The Cobra. They call him the Cobra. As of game 2, his nickname was the Cobra. I promise you, this is on Twitter.
It's ridiculous. Kevin Samuels, you can't make this shit up, right?
Right.
But you know, I like what he said about Luka, man. You know, I think that Luka is really putting himself as a top three player in the NBA. I mean, because you just because here's the thing, you have guys in the NBA like a Giannis, like a LeBron who's old but can still handle his business. That it's like, they're gonna get a bucket. They're gonna get you 25, 30 points a game. And the thing about Luka is you don't have a doubt in your mind he's going to produce. He's going to.
There's no doubt.
and I said this last week with Swan Don. We were talking, and he said Phoenix has the better team, and I picked Mavericks. I said the scariest thing for the NBA is Luka would help. And now you have Jalen Brunson, who's been a Batman, has been a Robin to his Batman. And Spencer Dinwiddie, he comes in and he has right. So it's just kind of everything. The stars aligned, and now they're playing teams like I said, you guys. I don't like watching to see what let me stop. I'll wait till we get to it. Okay. I like to jump ahead of the curve, but let's just talk about this Mavericks team. They're very impressive. They play defense. They're not perfect. They do have flaws, but it works, and they could get them to the finals.
Yeah, I've been thinking I don't know. I've been trying to nail down this Luka comp for so long. I don't have it. It's not there. It's not available in A.
No, it's not.
Like people said Harden earlier. Harden was really, 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 really good. But I just could never feel this comfortable putting my money on him. Like never. Like Harden would destroy everyone every round.
With a clutch gene.
Golden State. But it's just, it's like, what do they call it? They said LeBron have it early in the career, the killer mentality,
killer,
and all that type of personality trait stuff.
This guy was laughing.
Like, I don't know.
He was.
Like, he had what was it, game 2? He had the bad defensive game, which was a little over it.
Yeah.
He played decent defensive in the rest of the series. I mean, of course, we all know he's slow feet. He's not athletic.
Yeah.
He's basically the body type. He's not the best.
Yeah.
Overall, though, I mean, he's not Trae Young. You're not picking on him. Golden State, he's going to be on Clay. They could do a decent job. Or they put him on Draymond. He'll probably do a decent job. Getting a little ahead of ourselves. But with this series, I think it was insane. He hit 27 points at the half. Suns at 27. Luka took 12 shots. Suns took 41. Like it's just these are just the raw numbers. Like you just look at it. Then, but we giving a lot of the Mavericks a lot. We haven't talked about. I mean, last year on the pod, Russell Westbrook was a Washington Wizard. Wasn't a big fan, but a lot of Westbrook fans would come at me like, "Hey, you don't give CP3 the same flack you give Westbrook." And CP3 has just as many failures, if not more. I'm like, let me right. So I'm looking at some of the things. I've been just building a rap sheet over the time.
Paper trail.
Yeah, I mean, they win 60 games. I have nothing to say. All he does is win in the regular season, and then we get to the playoffs, and I'm like, oh man, he's been up 2-0 countless times. He's lost it. He's been up 2-0 and has lost 5 times in his career, the most ever. No one's even lost 4. He's at 5.
The player version of Doc Rivers, and they were together. Imagine that.
Insane. Like it's insane. 2008, 2013, 2016, 2021, 2022. Like it's crazy. He was up 2-0 this series. After being up 2-0, he averaged 8 points per game. He averaged 4 fouls a game as a point guard after that. He's old, yes. He said he was hurt, yes. But we're calling this man a god at his position.
I think okay, so this is the unfortunate part with that situation. Chris Paul's a great guard.
Absolutely.
We can agree that he's kind of like, if I was to make an NFL comparison, he's kind of like on his Frank Gore shit right now. Like he's playing past his prime, 5, 8, 10 years past his prime. He's still being productive, but he's past his prime. We can all agree on that.
Yeah, he's not 5 years anymore.
And I think the issue that you see with Phoenix in some games, and obviously yesterday in that game 7, is Chris Paul is too old and he's too past his prime to be the guy to be like, okay, well, nobody's going to take it. I'm going to take it. He can't do that anymore.
Right.
So that's where you have to look at a Devin Booker or a DeAndre Ayton, who he was my pet cat. And I was telling people that DeAndre Ayton is going to become the next big thing. He's going to step into the elite of centers or big men in the NBA. And he hasn't done that yet. So you have to look at a lot of those young guys. All right. Similar to how they talked about Anthony Davis in LA, right? You have to look at some of these young guys sometimes. They're like, okay, well, it's not like you're a baby. You've been in the league for a long time. You developed. This is your time to kind of take the reins and be like, I'm going to do this shit.
Right.
And Chris Paul is just, I think he has the IQ, but unfortunately, he's just not there anymore from an athleticism standpoint, from a health standpoint, to really take on a number one type of workload. And that's unfortunate. I feel like Phoenix, more often than not, sometimes has put him in a position and put a lot more on his plate than he can handle at this stage of his career. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's so interesting, like, because every series Chris Paul walks away from, he ends up limping, and like he comes out really hobbled. Like in any series, like when he loses in every series over the last several years, he's always hurt.
Rockets, Clippers, like
it's he never catches a break. And
he's a small guy.
He's a small guy, and I think this is just the basketball. Like the basketball gods are basically, they've made their decision on Chris Paul, and they are like, "You are not winning the championship, sir." like they have just made their judgment. Like Chris Paul has had his judgment day, and that's what it is. And hopefully he can bounce back. Phoenix bounces back. But it goes, and you make a great point, Kenneth, because if Booker isn't being this guy who is he's masking himself. And DeAndre Ayton, where you have a guy in DeAndre Ayton who's not, he's just not giving you the same presence as you felt throughout earlier in the playoffs and throughout the regular season, then yeah, that means Chris Paul has to step into that one. And then you look at guys like Mikal Bridges. Like,
so
I thought Bridges. I thought he's a young, emerging 3-and-D type of guy. His plus minus was -40. Jay Crowder, like Jay Crowder, and I said this last night after my live reaction. I said when Jay Crowder, and this is no disrespect because Jay Crowder's had a pretty decent year. He's turned himself into a 3-and-D guy. But Jay Crowder, this is all you need to know about Phoenix. When Jay Crowder turns into your second or third option on offense, that tells you all you need to know.
I want to be like my fifth, if possible.
If possible, that tells you all you need to know when Jay Crowder is a guy that you're relying on for offense as a second or third option. So I think Phoenix, with Luka showing you the truth, because great players often show you the truth. They show you what the truth is, and they show you what you're lacking in. And Kenneth, I didn't know you was on this wave, but you make a great point with that Booker. Luka Doncic, there's levels to this. There's Luka, and then there's Devin Booker. And Luka showed you that gap.
Some guys are built for the moment.
Some guys are built for the moment. And with Phoenix, you need to add another score. You need to, because if you're gonna because you owe Chris Paul some big time money in the next 2 years. So I don't know. Maybe look into moving some one of those valuable stars.
He's gone.
It could be Aiden. You move. Maybe you look into you look into moving Aiden.
But do you really? Aiden is
it's not a good move. It's not good. It's not good. It's just going at price.
And let's think about the landscape of the Western Conference. I don't know if you guys know, but the Clippers aren't going nowhere. The Kawhi and PG are coming back. And the Clippers, they took Phoenix to 6 games last year.
They got Norman Powell now and Rocco. They're coming next year.
They're coming. The Clippers are coming. There are some teams in the Western Conference that's going to be coming. And the Denver,
give Jokic some help.
Phoenix has to reload. They can't come back with the same squad. They'd be a great regular season team, but in terms of going up against top upper echelon type of guys, when someone shows you the truth, please fix it.
I think if they can add one guy that can get a bucket in the wing, they'll be okay. That'll help them tremendously.
Absolutely.
They have no money though. They have no cap. McCall Bridges got what he get? He got $100 million. Chris Paul max, Booker
Jesus
max,
Christ.
Aiden wants the max. Jay Crowder isn't getting the minimum. He's getting some $10 million or something.
He's getting pretty good money.
Cam Johnson, when is he coming up? Probably 2 years. This team's getting a little scary. Where I got Chris Paul, you won the max, but then you ain't gonna have the teammates, and it's gonna hurt your legacy. We saw what happened to Melo. We don't want that to happen to Chris Paul. Chris Paul is supposed to be a fan favorite for some. We saw what happened to Carmelo when the money didn't match the production, and then next thing you know, it's I can't look at Melo the same anymore. I can't remember the good times. It's hard. Yeah. I have to let him retire for a couple of years. I don't want Chris Paul to end up like that. And it's scaring me. 8 points per game. That's Ricky Rubio numbers. That's what they gave up for you. That's not what we need. They need it better than 7 assists, 4.5 turnovers. It's not going to get done. For the point guard, it's not going to get done. It's a lot of Chris Paul fans I'm going to send this podcast to. They're going to have to see. They have to eat this. Some people are saying Chris Paul, Stockton, Zeke, Nash. They're going to battle for who's it's Magic, Curry. You can argue who's next, third, fourth. He's up there for sure. Where's he going to end though? It's he can end 2, 3. Well, probably not 2. He ain't gonna bash Curry to me, but he can definitely stamp the 3rd spot if he gets a championship or does at least another deep playoff run. So I'm really hoping for Chris Paul, but it's just not. This just didn't help his case. It didn't.
Well, good luck in this evolving Western Conference.
Yeah, because Jamal Murray is going to give him the business. A year off, MPJ. Hopefully, his back is a 7 out of 10. He can play.
That's my point.
The Timberwolves are young, but Anthony Edwards the dude.
So that being said, since we're talking about let's talk about the conference finals.
Okay.
Right. We got these 2 conference finals matchups, right? Obviously next year is going to be interesting and we're going to get to that, but I want to know what some of your predictions are for the conference finals. Let's start with the Warriors and the Mavericks. First of all, like I said, I told you guys I have the utmost. I held myself back. I have the utmost confidence in the Mavericks because I feel like it's not a great matchup for the Warriors because they don't have many bodies that they can throw at Luka. And that's the scary part. Okay, what you're gonna waste Draymond Green on him?
You can't.
Hopefully not. You can't.
Wiggins.
Okay. You think Wiggins is gonna stop looking from getting a bucket? And I respect the progress that Andrew Wiggins has made in his career But so that's the scary part for them. I mean, we were just talking about the Denver Nuggets. The Warriors struggled with the Denver Nuggets without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr.
They struggled with Memphis a little bit.
They struggled with Memphis, a young, inexperienced Memphis, without Ja Morant. So this is a Warriors team that, don't get me wrong, they're a good team. They're deep. They can shoot. They got bright young stars in Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga. That's kind of, putting their name up there. But they're not the greatest defending team, and they definitely have holes. They have flaws.
They're susceptible to a defeat to a one man. Like, I'm not gonna say Dallas is a one man band, but Luka's leading the charge, and I think unlike any other year where Golden State was in the playoffs with this core, I think they're very much susceptible to a upset such as the Mavericks.
I'll put it like this. I think the Mavericks supporting cast. The Mavericks have a better supporting cast than what Jokic had in Denver. And So I mean, Jalen Brunson has been as consistent as ever.
He's gonna get paid.
He's gonna get paid, right? And like his dad said, we're not taking discounts, and I'm not mad at him. They're gonna get their money. So I don't know. I don't like the matchup for a lot of people are writing the name. I don't like this matchup for Golden State. Tell me what you guys think.
I can agree with that. And I say this about the conference finals, the four remaining teams, because this is how I'm looking at the four remaining teams and who we have left. Mm-hmm. Boston has the best defense and best defensive talent. Golden State has the best offensive and offensive talent. Mm-hmm. I think Miami is probably the most. They outlast you. Miami don't really. They outlast you because I think they have the most depth remaining, and I think Dallas probably has the best player remaining. So that's how I'm looking at these last four teams. And
what does Golden State do?
Huh?
What does Golden State have?
Golden State has the best offense and offensive talent.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I'm evaluating the last four teams, the final four per se. But with this Mavericks and Warriors matchup, I'm looking at, as you said, when the Warriors or when teams were trying to figure out a way to beat LeBron, one of the main things or ingredients that you would have to have is bodies. You got to continuously throw bodies at LeBron to wear him down and to keep you guys fresh. With Luka, I feel the same way. You have to be able to throw multiple bodies at him. And if your point, Kenneth, the Warriors don't really have that many bodies
to
spare.
Have bodies. What they gonna do?
Psych, I'm joking.
Watch this. Who's hobbled right now? What they gonna do? A young, wet behind the ears Jonathan Kuminga on him?
It's no way.
Please.
Luka's gonna have a field day with him. And so this is what Kobe said. Kobe said the Warriors have better role players. Don't get me wrong. The Warriors are definitely deeper. They're definitely the deeper team.
Pool.
But at the end of the day, I think that the issue is that Luka puts so much pressure on you from a defensive standpoint that he really minimizes your lineup. Like he's such a problem. And now you have Jalen Brunson, who's every bit as consistent. So other guys are going to feed off of that. I don't know if Spencer Dinwiddie is going to have the 30 points that he had last game, but I feel like he's going to still be productive and maybe give him 10 to 15, maybe even 20 points. So it's just kind of where Luka is so great that it's a domino effect where you're going to see other guys feed off of the attention that's paid to him. And when you mentioned bodies, Zay, I watched the Clippers throw Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Patrick Beverly at him, and they still could do
dogs.
They couldn't do shit with him.
Me and Ron, we always mention it.
Mhm.
Like, don't you know, in his 4 years in the league, no player, nobody has been able to stop Luka Doncic. like this guy has not been stopped. So he's.
I don't think I've ever seen it before, to be honest. Like, man,
we haven't seen it before.
As
So
a first option, like it's
some people say Larry. Some people say Larry Bird. That's some.
Yeah, I've heard Bird.
I've heard it. I think they're different type of players.
They're different players, but I think the way how they elevate their team, how they're like floor risers, I think it's very similar. And like people don't like to mention it, but like it's okay to mention it. They're both white. We haven't seen a white player dominate the league. The league like I don't know why. I feel like people are scared to mention it, but. And I know Luka is. I know Luka's from Slovenia, but like they're white, and the NBA is a predominant black league. Their best players predominantly black, so it's okay to admit it. But we have not seen a white player dominate the league like this since Larry Bird. It's okay. I love Chris Mullin. I love Dirk Nowitzki. I love Steve Nash. I don't think they're Luka. We haven't seen this since Larry Bird. So I think it's okay to admit it. I think Golden State approach is probably they know they probably can't stop Luka. They're gonna probably force the other guys to get involved. Okay, Luka, you don't get your 30, but let's see Spencer Dinwiddie. Yeah, let's see Spencer Dinwiddie get 30 again. Let's see Jalen Brunson average 25 throughout the series. That's the thing that I'm looking at with Golden State. But I tell you, guys like Klay Thompson, guys like Jordan Poole, they are going to get picked on.
Klay is looking so slow too. Goodness. Klay might get scary out of Klay. If he's not hitting that 3 ball, it might get scary. He might not be on the floor type of hours. Absolutely 7. But if he's you know what? I have it right here for us, everyone. Klay Thompson. This is his tour, his last couple of games from 3.
Tell us.
8 of 14. Amazing game. 3 of 6. Another good game. Then we have the over 7 game. Then we have 4 for 6. Then we have another 2 for 12 game. Then we have a 3 for 11 game. These are just the tour days. Like it is not consistent. And again, he's the highest 3-point percentage in NBA history in the postseason. 42% ever in the history of the season. And he's shooting still 40 this year. But it's like the game-to-game consistency. If he's having a bad game like that, and he's still shooting. He can shoot this team out of a win. That's what's going to scare me about Golden State.
And I don't know if you've noticed, and maybe this is just me. You guys can tell me if you think differently. Steph doesn't look the same either.
No, he's not.
He doesn't look the same.
Like that's what. And you're right. You can see the slippage a little bit at times. Now I think. Occasionally, like we saw in the game 6 versus Memphis, that last stretch in the fourth quarter, that like 4 to 5 minute stretch, you saw Klay start to get it going. You saw Steph starting to get it going. But that's why I call Luka Doncic the best player remaining in the playoffs, because you can see the slippage a little bit in Steph's game. And we're not saying, and by no means, we're not saying Steph isn't great.
No, he's still great.
Great.
But you can see a little slippage in his game, and he doesn't have that same, like, the Warriors used to have those third quarter avalanches. You don't really get that no more.
And I think there's a reason, and I said this last week, there's a reason why they're deferring to Jordan Poole so much, because he's young and his legs are fresh. He has all this energy. He's all over the place.
Yeah.
I've never seen a young player have the green light the way Jordan Poole has the fucking green light.
Oh my gosh.
Like I'm like, yo, he can really do whatever the fuck he wants to do out there. And Steph and Klay are just like, hey, you got it, big dog. Look, you got a big dog. But
Literally.
I mean, I guess
he has the green light like he's Kevin Durant.
He does. But you know what? I'll say this, and this just is just shout out to Steve Kerr. I think that obviously, although this team is flawed, I think Steve Kerr has done a phenomenal job at navigating through this rebuild and really giving them a shot. Because even if they don't, they have a shot to win another championship.
Yeah.
And we got to at least give them credit for that. 2 years ago, I mean, it was all G League players. Jordan Poole was one of them. Draymond Green, Steph was hurt, Clay was hurt. Draymond Green was the only veteran in there, and you saw them. They struggled, and they were going through adversity. They were in the mud, but I like to see that they respected the process. They hit the reset button. They went through the bullshit, and now they're back to where they're at.
They trust the process.
They trusted. They really did. They trusted the damn process, and now they're back in the conference final. So I don't know how it's going to work out for them, but I think that they've done a good. I think Steve Kerr has done a good job of helping them navigate through that. But unfortunately, now, obviously through this 3 to 4 year time span, I think it was 3 years for this reset to happen. Now the guys that you normally would depend on are just not at the same caliber. They're still great, but Clay, coming off an injury, is still finding his feet at times. Steph, you can tell who's the best 3-point shooter in NBA history, has his moments where his feet aren't under him and he can't find his shot. So it's just kind of it's different. This is a different Warriors team.
Yeah, I want to see Finney Smith and Bullock defend. They've been great. Bullock's right. We don't know if Finney Smith could defend. Bullock, dang Knicks. Like, I'm in New York City right now. That's a loss, Knicks fans. Like, that was a loss. They needed defense this year. And clearly, I must have underrated what he was doing last year. But he's been, like, really good. First, he's shooting 38.9% from the three. Finney Smith, 41% from the three.
Yeah.
And they're just the perfect little pieces. Like, they outplayed Bridges and Crowder, which would have been a hot take coming to the last series. I think they can come in here and defend. Like, them boys like to run. Brunson's only 6'1". He's going to guard Curry. That's going to be Curry's matchup. Brunson's not going to distract Curry or anything, but he can run. Brunson can run. Dinwiddie can run. They can give some size. Dinwiddie, if he gets more, he's probably more of a Clay matchup, but he's 6'5". He can give Steph some problems. Like, I'm defensively, I think they can give the Warriors. They can give them. I mean, motion offense is motion offense. It's already guarded. But I think they can deal with it enough to possibly get a win.
I was going to say this about the Warriors. I picked them to win it all at the beginning of the season. I picked them to win it all before the playoffs started. And as Kenneth, you talked about it a little bit, but this rebuild, right? Basically, since losing Durant and, Steph dealt with injuries, Clay dealt with injuries, they had a full bucket of just G League guys. I was telling people 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, a year ago, the Warriors are going to be back. They're going to be in contention to possibly win another championship. Now, like I said, I picked them to do it. Not sure they're going to do it, but I picked them to do it. I would say in terms of Steph and some slippage, I think Golden State versus Memphis, when Ja Morant was playing, they didn't nearly take advantage of him and his defensive liabilities. I didn't think they took advantage enough of it. I thought the first couple, like the first 2 games, Golden State really depended on they really used at times the guard pick and roll, which would force Ja Morant to defend Steph Curry, and that's when you saw Steph, do his thing a little bit. And I thought they could have done when Ja Morant was playing. I thought they could have done a lot more of that, but I feel like Golden State, they stick to their, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but sometimes you got to let your stars be stars. Sometimes you got to let your stars take advantage of the matchup, especially when there's a matchup that really favors them, So I'm definitely looking at Golden State. I want them to be able to take advantage of any type of defensive liability and get Steph going in this series, because I think this is going to have to be a series where Steph and his superstardom and his
experience, going to have to show up.
It's going to have to really show for Golden State to win in this series.
Jordan Poole, though, he's the X factor here for me.
Yeah,
he's averaging basically 20 on 50% from the field in the playoffs. Like, the guy can hoop, but defensively, again, it's just going to be tough, man. You said it earlier, like, Lucas is a mastermind. He's really a chess player, like, but he's always the queen. Like, it's just like he's killing the board every single play. You got to have your other queen to be able to go back at him defensively, and that's just tough. it's tough to expect that out of the other team. I really, really like Poole. I think he actually would be great with the Mavericks, by the way. I mean, I'm just saying. But
yeah,
guarding Lucas is going to be they're going to get him on
Well,
first. They're going to get Curry's going to have to guard him too.
And I think the scary part is they're going to have to really make a sacrifice and either just let Luka go.
Yeah.
Which in that case, I mean, he's going to create matchups for other players. He's a playmaker himself. Or they're going to have to try to throw some bodies at him, or maybe sacrifice a Draymond Green on him, and it puts them in a tough spot. If they had a couple more bodies on the wing that could defend them, I think it'd make things a little bit easier. But I think we're looking at this Warriors Mavericks matchup, knowing that Luka's going to do whatever the fuck he wants to do. Almost, right? He's probably going to do whatever the hell he wants to do.
Yeah.
And he's going to create a lot of opportunities for Jalen Brunson and Spencer Dinwiddie or Maxey or, I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. is even healthy.
No,
he's not. I've been seeing the Mavs PR team tweet that he's out, which is out. Does that mean he's close though?
Yeah,
that'd be a hell of an ad. That'd be a hell of an ad though.
It would.
Yeah, that's like if it's like what if situation because he can shoot he's 6'6", he can shoot the basketball. Like
you shoot the thread off it, yeah.
That'd be a crazy ad, but like you said, Maxi Kleber, good God, he's had a hell of playoffs. I mean, he defends and shoots. Again, he plays a role. He plays a role.
You can't beat it. So, yeah. So I mean, I have the Mavericks. Obviously, we'll talk about it. Be Reuters Sports next week. But I have the Mavericks winning the series.
I got Golden State in 7.
I have Mavs in 7. Actually, that was my other podcast today.
I got the Mavs in 6.
7.
Okay.
Well, 6.
I got the Mavs in 6.
Ooh.
Okay.
I'll be honest. I think Luka is just so overwhelming, and I mean, we're talking about a guy that 30 points is like breakfast for him.
Given.
If he scored 25, I'm like, oh, this is kind of a slow, bad game for him.
It's a bad game for him. 25 points. You're like, damn, Luka, you had a bad day at the office.
And check this out. He's doing this, or he did this all summer. He was on the McChicken, vodka, and hookah diet.
Hookah diet. We know what he is.
Wait, I mean, just the worst freaking diet and freaking like. I mean, I'm like, it's scary that a guy. Yeah, it's scary that a guy like Luka. That's what I try to tell people because we as Zay knows, we have Kevin in the room and Bo and Bruno Sports community. Bo and Kevin argue all the time about Luka and Giannis. And of course, we all agree that Giannis is better, but Luka, we're saying Luka still be a top 3, top 5 player in the NBA, and he comes into every season out of shape. So imagine if he really starts to take his diet and his health in the offseason serious, then we may see arguably the best player in the NBA. That's just my thought. But
that's my thought too.
Yeah. So I got the Mavericks in 6. You said you got the Warriors. Yeah, you got the Mavs in 7, and Zay, you got the Warriors in 7. Okay, he's gonna be the odd man out.
Yeah.
So let's jump into this Boston Miami series. What do you guys? What are your thoughts on this?
I think Boston. I'm gonna pick them to win in 6 games, and like I said earlier, there's good defenses, and then there's the Celtics defense. Like they're phenomenal. They're overwhelming. And I think what Boston does that's that's not like prototypical of today's defenses. Mm-hmm. They get up under you and they get physical. They get real physical, and the officiating, the refs, they let them play physical. And I think the physicality and the intensity that they bring on that side of the ball is just something we don't see from, quite frankly, any other team in basketball. So I think that's what throws these teams off. I think that's what really threw off Brooklyn, where they were just so physical, up and aggressive, and like players offensively in today's game, they're just not used to the touchy-feely physical defense that Boston plays. And I look at Miami. I think that, like I said, I think Miami is the team that is. They have the best, they probably have the deepest bench, and the best depth remaining. But They don't really scare you offensively. They don't put on a fireworks show offensively. It's at times, Jimmy Butler. I made this statement yesterday, but like Jimmy Butler in the regular season, he's like a borderline all-star, and then in the playoffs, he turns into like Michael Jordan. So like he turns into like a superstar. And with Jimmy, I like Jimmy, but outside of that, I obviously the Tyler Heroes, the Victor Oladipo's, the Bam Adebayo, those guys, they come and go offensively, but Miami really don't scare you, and you're looking at in my opinion, a historically good Celtics defense. I just think it's going to be really hard for Miami to register buckets, and all it takes for Boston offensively is not to fall into these heavy isolation, stagnant, dry spells. Right, because Boston, they fall into these dry spells where they lack a pure point guard. I think that's Boston's main weakness. They lack a pure point guard that's going to look to get the other four guys involved. So when they get into this heavy ISO and the offense becomes stagnant, that's where Boston comes. They become a little susceptible, and that's where they kind of hit. That's their low point.
That's true.
If they can stay away from that, I like Boston to win this series in 6 games. I think Miami's had a good run. I think they have a good culture. I think Boston's a little bit better.
And I think Miami's had a kind of an easy road. And I don't think they played a team like Boston.
Absolutely.
Yeah, same. I mean, I actually have the exact same Boston 6. I have your rule though. If it goes to 7, I just for some reason feel like Miami could get this. If somehow they win game 6, I think Miami could win that 7th game. If it's the 7th game. But I think Boston won it.
Is it because they're at home?
Yeah, I like the home.
Okay.
And I just I have to go through again. We have freaking Jimmy Butler, and then you say we have Jordan. Like it's crazy the difference he's had this year and in previous years. This year, 21 points per game, 28.7. That's the jump between regular season and postseason. Then he goes 52% in the playoffs. He drops down to 48 in the regular season. 36% from 3. He shot 23 in the regular season.
Wow.
Like defensively, he's still been. He's not prime Jimmy on defense, but he's been definitely above average.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's been really good, but again, no one scares you on this whole Miami team. Like Bam started dropping points. Kyle Lowry,
he doesn't play.
First of all, Kyle Lowry is Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, and when he does play, he's Kyle. Like I like when he doesn't play for him. I think he's Udonis Haslam to me at this point. Now he's not that bad, but like I like him better on the bench. Like he's 9 points on 36 in the field. I like Strus and Gary Vincent. Those boys play. They get on the court. They play defense. They shoot. I mean, Tyler Hero. We know he needs to play. It's just scaring me because they're going to hunt him every single play.
I think for Miami, Tyler Hero is the X factor for them.
Yeah,
he has to have for them to beat Boston. Tyler Hero has to have a big series.
Yeah,
he has to. It's imperative.
He needs this moment. This moment will shut everyone up that was talking trash since the bubble. They call
him Bubble Hero. Is he the second option? Like in this series, is he like
score-wise? Yes.
Okay. Yeah, he is. And that's the sad part about this Miami team because you were hoping that Bam Adebayo maybe had took that next step, but he has his moments. But the truth is he's very limited in the things he can do. He's a hustling, undersized center, right? Yeah, that's really what he is. Like it's very he has a limited game. He's an athletic guy, but I mean, once again, a lot of limitations to his game. And Jimmy Butler can only do so much. Like I can't depend on Jimmy, but I don't think I can depend on Jimmy Butler giving me 25 points per game. But he'll have moments.
Defense. This is gonna be tough this series for sure.
Yes. Who y'all think who you guys think they're gonna put Marcus Smart on? They're not gonna waste no time. They're gonna put Marcus Smart on Jimmy Butler. They're gonna be like everybody else beat us.
Yeah, and then okay, I get Marcus Smart gets beat off the ball. Okay, here comes Rob Williams and Al Horford. Like
yes, and they don't have and the thing is it just makes it so much harder because Miami doesn't have size to combat those matchups.
Right.
They're in a very similar boat, so it's just
they don't have like Miami. If they had like an Embiid, that can punish Boston in terms of the interior, then it would be a little bit balanced because Jimmy could then, you can play off of that, but they don't have that.
They don't. They don't at all.
PJ Tucker, he's like, what is he, 35? I mean, now PJ, he's a dog. He's gonna fight. Now he's gonna guard Tatum.
PJ Tucker is 6'5".
Like, but he's your power forward. He's basically
right.
Would you bet your money he'll give you 10 points a game? I'm not putting a dollar.
PJ Tucker is 6'5". He is 6'5" playing stretch 4, playing the power forward and playing center. I'm like, Jesus Christ! What if we came to where PJ Tucker is playing a 4 and a 5? And I remember seeing. You said what?
I think he's like, wait, isn't he like their backup center?
Yes, he is. And I remember seeing games where like he's in the paint and he's getting pushed around and stuff like that. I'm like, yo, he's just not, but he tries. So he's a high effort guy, and he can, and if you leave him in an open corner three, he's gonna make it. But it's just laughable to me.
If he puts the ball on the floor, you win as a defense. Once he starts dribbling, we got him.
We got him.
Right. Yeah. We got him. The Lord, that Dr. Umar man, we got him.
Yeah.
There's a Drewski man, we got him. Like, so they don't scare a soul, man. I'd be very surprised they win the series. I'm talking about like shocked.
Like, now I will say this. I am so, and it's funny because it took for that big three in Miami with Bron, Wade, and Bosh to leave, or after a point where it was just Bosh, to really start to respect the genius of Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah.
He's great at making adjustments. Mm-hmm. And he's easily one of the top 3 or 5 minds in the NBA. I think he's really up there. And he can do more with less. So as much as we look at it on paper and we're like, it's not really looking good for Miami, Spoelstra is such an intelligent head coach. And I love that his players buy into his program and they're very close and tight-knit that once again, they're going to make it difficult. Although there's some mismatches in some areas, Miami's going to make the right adjustments to definitely make them fight. It's going to be a fight. Like Boston's not going to go there and sweep them or anything like that.
No.
I don't think it's going to be a gentleman's sweep. I think it's going to be 6. I think it's going to be 6.
6. Yeah.
I think Miami gets game 1. That's my hot take. I think Boston.
It's possible. Yeah, it's very possible.
Yeah, Boston's coming off of the emotional high. I don't know why, because your standards should be championships. But congratulations on your Game 7 win. But Boston's going to be coming off of the roller coaster high. And I think Miami, they've had some rest. They've been chilling. They handled Philadelphia pretty well. So that's not a bad take. That's not a bad take.
Right. And then obviously Email Duca is going to have his work cut out for him. But I think he's so well prepared for this moment. And he's really looking like, he's looking like one of the best head coaches left in the playoffs right now. Absolutely. So this is going to be an interesting matchup because the teams actually.
I was going to say we got some great head coaches remaining.
Phenomenal head coaches.
Yeah, the 4 left.
And they are. And outside of Steve Kerr, essentially they're all defensive guys. They're all guys that are a defensive first type of team. Yeah. So, man, I think that's going to be a very fun matchup. I think Miami, if Miami were to have a star scorer, I think you would see this series be a lot more of a gridlock than we would want it. But they just right now, we have to depend on Jimmy Butler scoring 30, 40 points per game just to make this competitive. And I love Jimmy Butler. I'm a big Jimmy Butler fan. I just don't know if he can give you that.
Consistently versus this defense. It's going to be
versus this defense. I don't know. Giannis couldn't do it.
Durant couldn't do it.
Kyrie couldn't do it.
Like, think about that. Kevin Durant, who in my opinion, I think is probably the most gifted all-around scorer that we've probably have ever seen.
You think so?
Probably so. Like in terms of length and size, the combination of size,
it's fair. It's fair.
Handling, jumper, like he does it all, and he couldn't really register anything versus this Boston defense.
So Eric Spoelstra, that's all we got. Spo gets a win or two.
So Spo is the X factor.
Yeah, like
No,
Spo
it kind of is though. Like if they run that 2-3 zone that gave Boston problems in 2020 in the bubble.
Yep.
They're going and maybe Boston struggles for maybe a game or so, but I can't. I want to see Jason Tatum. I think he can take over this series. Or Brown, one of those guys is just maybe it's going to take over the offensive load, or they just go Boston route and everybody has 15 or 20 points. That's what I said. Like every starter has 15 or 20. I can see that happening as well. So I'm now it's just like, is Rob Williams' knee going to just die? Like I don't know.
Well, I think there's going to be less pressure on him, and I think they did a very surprisingly they did a very good job of not running him into the ground against a Milwaukee team that they actually really needed him against.
They could have needed him,
yeah. Right? But I think they did a real good job of really monitoring that because they were playing a long game. So guys, Al Horford stepped up. What are you about to say, Zay?
Oh no, I was going to say, speaking of injuries, and I think these 4 teams, it wouldn't surprise me if any of these 4 teams came out of their respective conference and won it all. I just want to put that out there. Right. So one major injury could derail this whole path to the finals. So I think that's how close it is with these 4 teams remaining.
Yeah, if Jimmy goes down, sweet.
Right. There's no prohibitive favorite.
Fair. Yeah. No, I mean, that's true. Although I would say that I think that
if I'm a betting man, I'd probably bet Boston Warriors finals, and Boston probably coming out on top.
I got Boston Mavericks.
Boston Mavericks. Okay.
I got Boston Mavericks because I just feel like these are 2 tough defensive first teams that have great head coaches, but they have the star power and the defense needed to make it past. I mean, whoever they're going to face to balance it out. And I just, for me, with the Warriors, and I said it earlier, I can't get past that Denver series. I can't get past it. Forget about the Memphis series. I can't get past that they were barely beating Denver by 3 and 4 points with just Jokic, no Jamal Murray, no Michael Porter Jr.
Will Barton. Like that was the second option.
I can't get past that. For me, that once I seen that, I said, okay. And it's funny because all year we've been talking about the Warriors and the Suns, and right when we get into the meat and potatoes, and right when we get into the playoffs or the end of the regular season, we really start to see how flawed these teams really are.
Yep.
I was like, man, this Suns team isn't as good as I thought they were.
Literally, the Warriors surprised me how good they haven't been. Like I'm just like Memphis. They lost the game with Desmond Bane. I love all these players. Like Jerry Jr., fan, 3-and-D center. Like, great, but there's no Ja Morant, and they got a game. And in the other game,
beat the shit out of them.
It wasn't even close.
Well, it wasn't close. Yeah,
we would all been rich. We bet the spread. We bet some minutes here. We didn't even have to be here.
Right.
No one expected that. Like it was. That can't happen to me. That just can't happen. Like no championship. Like no. If they win the finals, I will be shocked because that just doesn't happen in the finals things in the playoffs. It doesn't really happen in the regular season. To the final winners, like champions, you don't lose to that type of Memphis team by 30 to 40 points. It just doesn't. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Like,
and that's my point. And even Ja Morant. Ja Morant's great, and he's really moving his name. He's slowly moving the needle up.
Yeah,
but I mean, we can talk about Luka. I mean, Luka's on a different level than Ja Morant is, and this is scary to say. That just showing you how good Luka really is because Ja Morant is great in his own right, but. I mean, they're going to have their fucking hands full, and you can't. I mean, you saw them almost lose to Jokic, right? A center who was averaging a triple double, damn near, or a double double throughout the entire series.
Yeah.
And now you're getting a Luka, and it's not like Denver had a deep bench, right? But we're looking at the Mavericks, who also don't have the deepest of bench, but they have Luka, who's otherworldly, and they have Jalen Brunson, who's been consistent. So now we have to ask who else. I mean, Max is going to play defense; he's going to give you some buckets as well. But if they can get the right players to step up, in certain games. I mean, I think it can flip flop, right? Spencer Dinwiddie doesn't have to show up every single game, right? But maybe if a Maxey, I don't know if Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to come back, but if one of the other role players can step up instead, I mean, they have a very realistic shot of beat. I don't think it's so bad. I don't think the Golden State. I don't think the Mavericks are underdogs. I just don't.
Wow.
I don't think they're underdogs. I think that this is I think it's very close because I think that the Warriors can be defined as the better team, but I think the Mavericks are a terrible matchup for them.
And they gave him trouble in the regular season.
Yeah, they did.
They played. They gave him trouble. Lucas.
Didn't they beat them 4 out of 5 times?
3-1.
3-1. Okay.
So they gave him trouble. Curry's also still somewhat seems a little injured to me. I think he's a top, like, what is he? I probably get my top of my head top 6, regardless of whatever's going on. He's still that good of a player. I think Lucas like top 3 at this point, top 4 at the best left.
Right.
So it's like it's gonna be tough. Curry, I gotta see like 2016, 17 Curry come out of here.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like you're gonna have this series, you're gonna have to have Steph go berserk in your 4 wins.
It's the only way. So this is the Mavs Warriors. I'm giving that like the Mavs Warriors is like our that's the Gen Z matchup. And then you have then the millennial matchup. We got Heat Cells, gritty iPod, Mavs Warriors is the freaking iPad.
This is gonna be
the Gen Z matchup. That's funny.
Like literally, it's fast, it's pick and roll, it's 3 ball, it's defense, but like not too much. Like it's no centers on the play in this series. Kevin Looney is going to give you 8 minutes a game. Dwight Powell maybe 10. Like
I like Kevon Looney.
Oh, he can play. He's just not.
I like him because he's like their Swiss Army knife.
Did y'all see like the little posts on like Twitter and IG, and they was like the league is in good hands. We got Luka, we got Devin Booker, we got Jason Tatum, and we got Kevon Looney. Like Kevon Looney, I think he grabbed 2 rebounds, 2 boards. And I'm gonna shout out to my guy No Layups, Najee. He said this last night on Twitter Space. If you don't have an idea what this series, Mavs and Warriors don't look like, I think it's gonna look very reminiscent to those Warriors and Rockets series, where the Rockets were very close to being.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I'm gonna say this.
Okay,
I see this is going.
It's not terrible, but the Mavericks play such a totally different style of offense than what the Rockets did.
Definitely.
And they play so much more defense.
They play better defense. I think they're better defensively. And they don't rely, unlike D'Antoni, they don't rely on the 3-point shot
right
as much as those Houston teams play.
They lived and died by the fucking 3.
Really. But in terms of the perimeter play and the perimeter like dominance that you're gonna see from a guy like Luka and Jalen Brunson potentially and Spencer Dinwiddie, I think they're gonna cause some of the same issues that Houston gave them on the perimeter. I think Dallas has a chance to give Golden State those same issues on the perimeter that Houston did.
And then it's like I just trust Luka more than James Harden. I'm the guy. I like people know that I was dying by Harden every year. I was dying by Harden every year. Like I know he's gonna do it this time. He freaking failed me every single time.
Yeah. Hey, what was the post you put up on Twitter? Zay, what'd you say? What did James Harden do?
James Harden, man. James Harden in Game 6, he let the entire bearded men community down. like he let the entire beard. Like if you have a beard, I was just for some reason because I'm not huge on James Harden, but for some reason I felt let down and led astray because he has this beard. And I feel like he let the whole bearded men community down with that performance in Game 6 versus Miami.
It wasn't pretty. I was just like, man, and look.
He was balling we need the NBA really need to investigate what happened with James Harden in Game 6 because he only took 2 shots in the second half.
I mean, even this prime, what were they 0 for 30 from the 3 in Game 7 versus Golden State? Chris Paul was hurt. You couldn't get in the game. You couldn't play good. I don't care what anybody else does.
Right.
I'm going out like LeBron or like Kobe or Jordan. I'm giving you 40 or 60 points, and I'm going to just lose. I'm going to be the guy.
Harden
you can win 3-pointer in Game 7. I'm good. It's your whole game.
And I think that's why sometimes we have to pump the brakes on giving certain guys praise because and once again, this is not to say that James Harden didn't have his years and his times where he was great because I've seen him do a lot of shit in Houston that some players just can't do. To me, he's in his prime because I think he may very well just be out of his prime, but sad to say. But he really can do a lot. I mean, he could be a 2, he can be a 3. And when he went to the Nets, he was their point guard, right? And not Kyrie, he was essentially their leading distributor. But Zay said something on Rooted in Sports Community a few weeks ago that really hit home to me, and he was like, he hasn't taken care of his body. He has a crazy lifestyle, partying, going to strip clubs, hanging out with rappers, and finally it caught up to him.
Yeah. I mean, I've made this point about James a lot, and I know some people will contest, like, well, that's none of your business. But I just look at like what Russell Wilson take care of his body. Tom Brady is 45. Like, he's still playing at a high level. Like LeBron James, 37. Like, obviously didn't make it to the playoffs this year, but still played at a really great level. And we have James Harden, who, like, mind you, I have to remind people, James Harden was once a guy that scored 452 points in a span of 11 games. That's 41 points per game. He was once that guy.
He was
nuts. And now the mere fact that he can't even crack 30 points on a nightly basis when his team needs it the most is very disturbing. And he's only 32. Like, he's only 32.
He hit that wall.
And you hit the wall, and that's what happens when you don't. It's a prime example of when you don't take care of your body, and you come into the off season fat, out of shape, and then you have you have your thing with these egotistical moments where you shut down. You just completely shut down mentally and physically. And that's what you're seeing with Harden. And I like Harden. I like him. But in terms of taking care of himself, this is the cost and the effect of it. You have just a decline. Like Max Kellerman. Remember that cliff theory that he had about Tom Brady? Like the cliff theory where he said Tom Brady off the cliff? Yeah. Well, like, that's James Harden. Like, if Max Kellerman would have used the same cliff theory with James Harden, he would have been correct. Because James Harden has fallen off a cliff.
I mean, this man has his jersey retired in the strip club. He's a legend. He's a Hall of Famer in another setting. In the strip club, he's a Hall of Famer.
Lord.
It's in the Raptors, not for basketball yet.
Philly, Daryl Morey, Doc Rivers, the 76ers, and the entire Philadelphia community, they thought they was getting James Harden. They got Mark Henry. Okay. So that's what we have here. And I like James. I like James Harden.
Daryl Morey, like, he really saw Daryl Morey, to me, is an amazing GM and will do anything to win, but he just sold his current James Harden.
And apparently James Harden is opting in.
He has no choice.
Because nobody's gonna want
him. That Supermax ain't coming, buddy.
He said, "Oh, I'll be here."
I'll be here.
A guy that's been so adamant about moving wherever he can't win at, he's like, "Oh, I want to leave here. I want to leave there." He's like, "No, I'll be here. Whatever the team needs." Look, now you're a team first. Now you're a team. Now you're a team first guy.
Yeah, he opt in now.
Now you're selfless.
He's still getting $40 million now. He ain't that selfless. I mean, he's getting his $40 million.
47.
Right. This ain't chumpy, but he's still. I think he's still on the Supermax money from the Rockets.
They're still paying him. Him.
He's getting still 40. Look,
47.
The man's eating good. The man, literally, physically and in the bank account, he's eating good. Yeah, that's my last thing on James Harden.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, that's 2 hours. we've been going. I think this has been fun. We had a couple of technical difficulties. At least I did on my end with connection. I don't know what's going on, man. They're trying to stop. They're trying to stop us from being great. Well, they're trying to stop me from being great because you guys kept going.
Yeah.
But fun episode. We covered everything. I mean, we talked about the NFL schedule and some of the upcoming games that we're excited about. We were able to dive into, the semifinals, what happened, what went wrong, what went right. And we were able to talk about both upcoming conference finals championship games between the 4 remaining teams and the Rockets, not the Rockets, the Heat, the Celtics, the Warriors, and the Mavericks. So that's going to be exciting. But I will ask you guys this before we go ahead and close out. Tell me, first of all, I know people are like rooting sports fans. Obviously, we see Isaiah all the time, and we got Ronald. But I know you maybe have some new people plug in. Don't these guys have their own shows? What are their tell us about your shows? How about that?
Well, like you said, the rooting sports community, they kind of I consider myself a familiar face, but like
He's affiliated.
Yeah, right. Like I always say, the Isaiah Kid podcast. It's available on any podcast or streaming service that you use to play your music or any podcast, Spotify, Apple, any platform or streaming service that you use, you can find my podcast there. I upload weekly, so I've had Kenneth on a couple times. I've had Ron on a couple times. So check it out. Like I always say, I'm Kenneth always brings me on and so forth. I greatly appreciate the opportunity. So yeah, Isaiah Kid podcast, like I said, on any streaming service.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of the Isaiah Kid pod. Definitely one of my lessons when I'm on that long New York City train ride. So I think obviously it's like, oh yeah, I'm bored as hell. I'm limited to this, and it's getting me through my ride. So definitely tune into that. And on us, the M&R show, yeah, we're available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all streaming platforms. We do a lot of large sport news. My co-host is Malcolm Napier, huge Boston Celtics fan. So if you are one of those, you can come over that way too. We got a really, really big change though coming to the show. Probably next week. It's going to be a big announcement on Instagram. Make sure everybody's in. And in my personal life, yeah, another big announcement will be coming very soon. Looking like
get married?
2 weeks. No.
Well, look, I just guess I'm sick of big announcement.
Nah. But another big announcement. We all know that I am a reporter in my career. So we hopefully next 2 weeks we'll have some big news to share with everyone.
That's what's up.
Well, I guess that means you owe us. You have to be back on Rooting Sports and update us on it. Definitely, obviously we'll tap in with fans. Anybody's watching, tap in with Ronald and the M&R podcast and track and see what they're doing. Isaiah Kid as well. But yeah, man, like I said, it's exciting to have you guys and. And then obviously for me, you guys on the Rooting Sports podcast, we have Rooting Sports Community every Saturday on Twitter Spaces, where we just get in there. It's really a lot of arguing and banter and going back and forth. You heard me mention the name Kevin. He's like he's literally the highlight of every Saturday because he argues with everyone, and it's just the most hilarious thing ever. So, Rooting Sports Community, and obviously the Break Room Breakdown Sports Podcast. That's my educational sports one-on-one based podcast, and I have an episode dropping tomorrow, episode 24 on sports betting. Right? Who wants to make some money? Right? Sports betting. Yeah. So that's going to be my episode that's released tomorrow. So, but as far as these two gentlemen. Ronald and Isaiah, the Isaiah Kid podcast, the M&R show. Definitely tap in with these guys. Follow them on Instagram. What are your Instagram handles?
So mine's is Zay _K dot. You can follow me on IG. That's what I use. I'm trying to like you, as Kenneth and Ron alluded to. I sometimes try to get active on Twitter a little bit. So you can follow me on Twitter as well. At Isaiah Kid Pod. Where you might see some funny tweets or so forth from here and there. So that's just about it.
Yeah, you can follow us at Malcolm Ron Show on Instagram, Twitter, and the TikTok is getting back and rolling. So at MALCRON Show. this summer the TikTok will be back rolling. We've had a couple of viral hits, but the followers haven't been there yet. They will get there by the end of the summer, though. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of you on the TikTok as well.
And speaking of platforms, I have a big announcement. You guys can check out Rooted in Sports on OnlyFans. Right, Rooted in Sports OnlyFans. But you know, they say I don't know. They say you can use OnlyFans for just regular content. I didn't know that.
You can.
So I don't know. I'm considering it. And it was a big announcement. I don't know. I'm thinking about it, man. I may attract a completely different crowd, but hey, look, I'll go ahead. We'll take them. We'll take them in the community, right?
Take anybody.
All right.
For sure.
But no, fellas, all love, man. I appreciate you guys coming on, man. It was fun. We were able to really get through 2 hours, man. And I mean, honestly, we easily could go for another hour just talking sports, but I appreciate you guys taking time out of your day. I know you guys have your own podcast. You guys are both school, doing work, doing things in your own lives, but I definitely look forward to having you guys back on in the near future.
Absolutely.
For sure. Definitely.
Thank you, Kenneth.
Thank you for letting us on.
Yeah.
Oh, well, definitely, man. And just let me know whenever you guys need me. I'll be there. Like Johnny on the spot, live at 5. Gotcha. All right, guys. Well, nice talking to you guys and fans. Tune in next week, 5:30 Monday. We'll have some exciting updates, definitely, with the conference finals, and I'm sure the NFL will do some tricky stuff as well. So we'll talk about that. But have a good one, guys.
All right.
Yep.